Hello, peoples. It's time. We're back again. This is our second show back after being exiled to the no zone. So, this is Tempest Tenebrarum, home of all things World of Darkness. And we're here every other Tuesday sitting around bullshitting about our favorite role-playing games. I'm your host, Peter. And as always, let me introduce my co-host, Eric.
Hello, Peter.
And tonight our guests are some folks who have been with us before. Thomas, say hi.
Hi.
And Ken,
Wow.
say hi.
Hi.
All right. Awesome. So we're back tonight, and our discussion is the Banu Haqim. They used to be called the Assamites, and I'm not sure what the reason for the name change is, but we'll maybe discuss that tonight too. So, but one of the things I promised I would do, listen up, ladies and gentlemen. The Austin chapter of the Mind's Eye Society are a bunch of toxic assholes. These people need to find something better to do with their time than fucking with our game. And I got news for the board. I'm coming after you too. Until you guys get your shit together, I'm coming for you. Get that right.
You mean that metaphorically, right?
Metaphorically, not, I don't mean any physical violence. I'm just saying
I know,
it's
man.
as press for White Wolf, I'm coming for you. I'm going to talk shit about you until St. Swithin's Day. Bet on that. I don't mean that to come across in any way violent whatsoever. I'm just very pissed off that y'all are fucking with my game. So, let's jump into the Banu Haqim, guys. So, where is your... no, wait a minute. Yeah, go ahead, dude. It's your job. Go ahead, Eric. Oh, my bad.
It's all right, man.
I get wound up, dude. I really do. I get wound up.
Oh, I know. You all worked up. So, with the Banu Haqim, since we started off with talking about the theories of why the name change would be, so since I know that Ken is my old school player of Clan Banu Haqim or Assamite, so Ken, why do you think they changed the name?
I think they went from more of the assassin slash like aggressor type, because it has everyone kind of took that stance to it, because Assamite assassin, I think they went from that to a more ideological standpoint, so that you could take it as more of just a better role play option than that's the assassin clan. You know,
well, the neonates were taught to do one thing: hunt vampires. That's what they were taught to do.
Right, and then the Web of Knives is something completely different, along with the Black Hand. The Web of Knives was like the cream of the crop, and they themselves would get like extra special training. They would spend 100 years as a ghoul or some shenanigans like that, and all they were literally given was a name and a hemisphere, and they were expected to complete the contract, and their only reward was the blood of their victim.
The reclaiming of the blood of Cain for Haqim.
Yep. And so I think my personal viewpoint is that they went and changed it so that it became something that was a facet of the Banu Haqim, instead of like everyone's go-to thing, kind of like how the Bruja, everyone imagines dudes in leather jackets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can spend more time doing other things, and that's my viewpoint anyways.
Okay. So, Thomas, what do you think?
I was really looking forward to an answer, but it looks like the stream's offline.
No, it isn't.
Oh. Then my computer's being dumb. Anyway, I think
you're right.
it comes down...
YouTube says it's offline, but it's not. I'm still broadcasting.
Oh.
Yeah, but Sabrina says they lost us.
Oh, Jesus. See, Eric, you had to say something, didn't you?
Did he say the word?
He did say the word earlier today. Or was it yesterday?
Back on.
Okay, we're back. All right.
Okay,
No,
so
no, it's still saying stream complete. So give us a minute.
Because
Guys,
YouTube's
we're not doing this deliberately. This is not something where damn it, it still says stream complete. What the hell? No, yeah, alright, keep going. Keep going. Fuck it. Never mind. No dead air.
okay, so I think. Sorry, muted myself. I think if we're looking at it, you can look at it in one of two ways: the meta reason for writing, and the in-game reason. And I feel like one of the reasons was the Banu Haqim are now one of the pillars of the Camarilla. They've been accepted, and with that acceptance also comes an acceptance of the sort of clan dynamic that they brought in. And what they brought in was a lot of vizier class and some sorcerer and some warrior, and they prefer the term Banu Haqim as it's in their language of
Well,
the Middle East. It's much more
the
authentic.
definition of the phrase is child of Hakim or
Child of
children of
Haqim.
Hakim.
Exactly, and that is their founder. That is their
All right, hold
that
your
is their
thought.
roots.
Hold your thought. We're gonna try and reboot the stream.
No,
Okay,
we're
she
back.
said no. She said we're back. So all right, keep going.
Okay, so in characterly, and to quickly sum up in case any of that was missed, now that they're in the Camarilla, they have a certain level of respect, and that respect is that they get to be called the children of Hakim. And their meeting went well. Their meeting with the Camarilla representatives didn't end in an explosion and a dead Justicar, unlike
Yeah,
the
right?
ministries. So the Banu Hakim showed up, and they discussed, they wheeled and dealed, and they came to an arrangement without the spilling of any blood. Whereas the ministries, again, there was an explosion and a dead Justicar. The ministry got told to fuck
Wait a
off.
minute. Which Justicar died?
I'm not sure. The Camarilla book doesn't name names. It just says a Justicar
A
or
Justicar.
a Justicar died in an explosion, and the Camarilla said the ministry did it.
I don't see the children of Set doing that.
So that the thing is, it's also somewhat hinted in the book that maybe they didn't, but the Banu Hakim are like, well, we didn't do it, but we don't know who
Sounds so
did.
somber as fuck, to be honest.
And the Camarilla and the Camarilla saying the Setites do it. Well, that just suits us fine because we got in, they didn't, and it was going to be one or the other got in. And the Banu Hakim got in because their meeting was in secret in a hotel kitchen. The ministries was in a ballroom as part of some NATO gala. It was big and glitzy, and that one got blown up. The quiet meeting in the kitchen didn't. So, and then I think metaly, they've been trying to be more inclusive of writers and cultures and using appropriate terms, like why they changed Quajin to one Quay rather than using a Chinese word and a Japanese word and shoving them together, which is seen as offensive by some and just, again, incorrect in the language. Now it's all Chinese as one Quay. So,
all right, now let me throw this out to everybody, not just the folks talking, but the folks who are listening to us live. How should I put this? If you were gonna trust somebody and I'm just saying, if you're gonna trust somebody, why would you allow a clan that is so angry, and I'm talking about the blood curse, ladies and gentlemen, to be a member of the Camarilla? And they are very angry at another pillar, you know, very angry. The blood curse made it so that they could not reclaim the blood of Caillou. Matter of fact, they weren't able to drink vampire blood, period. Why is it now okay to just, yeah, it's okay, we forgive you?
Well, it has to do with a really big thing called Shulgi.
Yeah, okay.
woke up and then said, "Guess what, Tremere? Eat a dick," and removed the entire curse.
Yeah, no, I get that part. The removal of the curse. But why would you allow somebody who is so angry, and they're still pissed? I
Well,
guarantee it.
in the new stuff, the Tremere, the entire top of the pyramid is gone.
Yes, but that doesn't
They
mean
don't
the
have this.
under bricks
They
aren't
don't
going to
have
be
this.
any happier.
They don't have the strength to fight back against anything.
Oh, okay.
So another reason also is mutually assured survival, because the members of the Banu Haqim who are joining the Camarilla are against Ul Shulgi and a completely other half of their clan.
Okay.
There is a clan civil war going on, and the side that is fleeing their Methuselah, who woke up and
Underneath
shattered their curse, ran to the Camarilla for help.
Oh.
And the Camarilla extended their hand and said, "Of course, we'll shelter you. We'll take you in. We'll protect you. We'll call you by your true clan name. No longer are you Assamites. You are Banu Haqim. We shelter you and love you because the Tremere were blown to shit. Most of the gangrel have left at this point. We need a new pillar. It is mutually assured survival. They will sort out the Tremere issue,
and we can't trust the ministry.
and you cannot
Who
trust the
does?
ministry as far as you can throw them.
Throw a pyramid. That's the question. Can I throw a pyramid that far, no matter how much?
With a high enough potency, you can throw it kind of far, and you
Yes,
still don't
you
want to
can.
even trust the
Maybe.
ministry that far.
Which would
Point
be
is,
funny to watch a high potence motherfucker try to throw a pyramid. That would be fun. I'd pay
It would
to
be
see
fun.
that.
So would I.
Potent's caber tossing.
Yes.
But point is, it's mutually assured survival. They will sort out the feud later, and the Camarilla invites a sort of internal competition politically with your enemies.
They do at that.
And if the Banu Haqim are suddenly like, we can do blood sorcery too, you know, maybe you don't need the Tremere having the prince's ear
It's not the
when we can do
Listen,
it better.
Quietus, which is Latin for shut the fuck up, is not blood sorcery. I don't give a shit what you say. It doesn't work.
Says the blood thieves.
Yeah, it says me. And by the way, yeah, I'm getting the tattoo soon. I will post that to the page. By the way.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
I should post mine.
She told me $40 to get and because it's all in black, it's not really that big of an issue. But still,
it was a smart political move to accept them into the Camarilla. Like, it was a good political move to accept the La Sombra later.
And
It's smart politics.
Anti-Tribute La Sombra have we taken in?
I mean, at this point, the number's growing, depending on how one views Chicago by Night going. Pick up that book when it comes out. Because that's the chronicle that details if they come in or not. And if they do, there's a decent number of La Sombra who are like, sure, I'll join the Camarilla. The Sabbat ain't going nowhere, and what's going on in the Middle East, I don't want no part of it.
Yeah, that's some scary shit. I will see over here.
You don't have to not trust them. That's understandable. But wielding their power against your enemies, even for a short time, is beneficial.
Shadow
and
magic
besides
is
that,
awesome.
as a vampire, you shouldn't trust anybody anyway.
That's true.
You shouldn't.
That's true. But shadow magic is awesome. Come on.
Shadow magic is awesome.
Obtenebration is just the shit.
Well, they changed it a little, tweaked it a bit, and it's actually really cool so far.
And what I love about the Banu Haqim is their rituals are neat, and I like the spread of disciplines they have. The Banu Haqim are awesome to play.
So Quietus isn't the standard clan?
It is no longer. Nope, not anymore. It's been folded into other disciplines.
Huh. Like?
Same with everything else.
Just like everything else, I am about to inform you, my friend, because I, unfortunately, did not have the book open. Give me just a second.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, here we go. They have now Blood Sorcery, Celerity, and Obfuscate.
And Quietus. You know, Celerity and Quietus work. No,
Okay.
that shit works, man. That's dangerous.
Here, we only have 3 disciplines.
So the Quietist
Paladin-
technically got folded into Blood Sorcery and Obfuscate.
But
Now I have a question for you. Right now, the Web of Knives. How deep do you think this is folded into the whole thing?
That's a scary thought.
So, all right. So as far as like what I'm aware of is Thutmose. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Oh, hang on. What was that original? Cause no, there is no. There's temporis, thaumaturgy, and thanatosis are the list. I
Yeah,
have.
no. Quietist got blended into other stuff.
Yeah, Quietist got
okay.
blended into Blood Sorcery and Obfuscate.
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
yeah. And then so anyway, as far as like the Web of Knives is like the personalized like 20-ish member group that functions directly underneath basically Thutmose, which is Urshulgi's right hand, I guess.
Oh,
And he was one of the original founders. I'm looking at his biography right now. He was embraced in 25 BCE.
yeah.
He's a 5th gen, and his sire was Shahari,
Correct.
and he's the former Caliph of Alamut.
Former.
Yeah, he passed it down to Elijah Ahmed.
Yeah, but what about the other dude?
His sire?
Not his sire. The one who was one generation below him and never woke up
Fatima
until
El
recently.
Faqid or something like that.
Because in the clan novels, Fatima mentions him, not or Shugli, but
Yeah,
the other
that's
dude.
him. That's Themtis. He's the one who's gone. He went off, and they assumed he's been in torpor, but the whole time he's actually been preparing for Shulgi's return.
Oh.
Right, and so Jamal was Banu Haqim, and Thutmose is a proud non-believer who was often at odds with Jamal. And so instead of following that, he gave his loyalty to Shulgi, and that's pretty much like where this went from.
So
And,
Hakeem hasn't awoken yet.
well, this is the old stuff, right? This is
Okay. But I mean, I'm talking about the new, Gehenna still is ongoing thing.
So,
right. Yeah.
according to Becca's Jihad diary, no, he has not woken up yet, but Ul Shulgi is preparing to wake him up.
Oh, that's gonna go bad for him.
Well, he's smart enough because he's gathering a bunch of blood to feed him, other kindred blood.
No, it won't help. Because as soon as he wakes up, he knows what his entire clan has been doing.
Right, and becoming a Web of Knives.
Every antediluvian
But
that has
his
awakened
entire
before now already knows whatever the hell their clan has been doing since they went to sleep.
yes, and what their clan has been doing is judging other kindred the way that Hakim taught them to. That's what Hakim was. He was
Reclamation
God.
of the blood of Cain.
He was basically he was the judge of all the other kindred. So they began the practice of reclaiming Cain's blood.
I mean, even their compulsion's called judgment.
Yep.
So it runs deep in the clan.
Oh, yeah, it would, right?
I mean, we don't know which side Hakim would take when he wakes up. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's going to be mad at the ones who have found a new person to worship, but I'm not sure if Hakim wanted worship anyway.
No doubt, dude. He's going to be very angry about a lot of things. And that's one of them.
But I think Ken raises
I didn't even think about that.
But Ken raises another good point about the Web of Knives. I mean, With the Banu Haqim and the Camarilla, we don't know if some part of them are loyal to the web, and this is just infiltration.
Okay.
So the way the web works, and I looked it up because I was not sure on the 100-year thing, you have to spend 7 years as a ghoul. And every month or whatever, or every week or whatever the minimum requirement for blood is, they would show up, give you the blood, and you would spend all day, 7 days a week doing combat training, and then 2 hours a night after that doing either study or physical endurance training.
Finding out which poisons work
Right.
against kindred. Yeah.
And you
That
spend
one's fucked
7
up.
years doing that. Then they give you here's a name and a hemisphere. You have a month to complete this and come back. Then if you do, there's a big ceremony where they embrace you. Then you spend another 7 years in a more vigorous training. And then if you pass that, which requires a month long of testing, whether it's philosophical or physical combat or whatever.
80% of those neonates never survive the training.
Yeah, then that's even after their ridiculously narrow selection process. So, which is why there's only about 20 of them, and most of them are alarmingly old. So the Web of Knives started real hardcore in what is it? In 1112 or 1102 CE.
Okay.
Right. And most of the founding members had been alive for at least a good
plus, yeah.
900 years.
Yeah.
And from there, then they started picking up recruitment, and they've had the same top 10 members. So you're looking at vampires that no one really knows that are 500 plus years old that have been doing nothing but heavy combat training for the entire time. That's
and the
fucking
folks that
scary.
know Fatima's name usually don't remember it long enough to survive.
Right.
I love Fatima Al-Fadil. She is the fucking shit.
Just to give you an idea, Fetness, according to his old school character sheet, had Auspix 2, Celerity 6, Fortitude 4, Obfuscate 6, Potence 4, Presence 2, and Quietus 8.
Yeah, you'd never know you were dead until you showed up in heaven.
Yeah, and he was on Path of Blood rank 8. So he was pretty deep into that.
Crazy. No, you're right. No, that's fucking crazy, dude.
And so he's he's a very big character, and he's a 5th gen, which doesn't hurt his cause at all.
Not a bit. Back when Generation meant something.
Yeah, that was when Generation was a big deal.
I'm still having an issue with that in 5th gen, by the way.
He has 8 retained.
Now, seriously, Generation should still mean something.
Yeah. He has Retainers 8, Ghoul Mercenaries.
So generation does mean something. As your generation increases, your ceiling goes up. So it does mean something. But blood potency also matters.
Yeah, blood potency is the issue here. And that should be directly proportional to generation.
It is.
Yeah, your blood.
It's not a hard set thing anymore. It's not you have this, so you have this many points, and this. It's just okay. It's more fluff, but it also does determine how high your blood potency can go. It also makes it to explain how some 13th generation vampires were able to destroy elders,
which shouldn't be possible.
Their blood is just more potent. Or if somebody had a potent sire and they're just powerful, even though their generation is different, same thing.
But a 13 gen, 14 gen, 15 gen should not be able to destroy a 6th generation elder. It shouldn't be able to happen. The elders should be able to snap them in two like a twig.
If the elder knows it's coming, and also there's a range.
How did the Ventru what's his ass? Hardestat die?
I don't know. We haven't
A
covered it.
shotgun to the
We
face.
mentioned it, but we haven't covered that particular aspect of the Ventrue yet.
Well, it's not about the Ventrue. It's part of the whole thing. Theo Bell shot him in the face with a shotgun. He's dead.
Okay, that's different, dude.
Well, again, like,
Technology can overcome a lot of fucking generation.
well,
Just saying.
here's the other thing, though, is generation in the new system determines your range of blood potency. A 6th generation vampire, for example, has a minimum blood potency of 3. It never goes below 3, and a maximum of 8. However, when you start hitting 10th and 11th gen, your maximum is 4. So 10th or 11th gener can have a bigger blood potency than a newly awakened 6th gen who slept their blood potency away. So there is a
That's starting to
discrepancy
make
there.
better sense.
So blood potency lowers as you topor, which is why a lot of vampires sleep for a long time, because your blood potency goes up, your feeding restrictions grow. And the idea they also want to go with is justifying, like, how would the Anarch Revolution have ever worked if a lower generation could never kill an elder?
It took more, not more blood potency. It took more vampires of blood potency X to take down an elder. That's how that worked. If you have 15, 9th gen vampires can take down a 6th gen vampire, no problem. No problem whatsoever. Okay? I get that part, but one 15th generation vampire, not using technology to overcome the issues of generation, just to potence or fucking, what's the one with the claw thing?
So
No, hold on.
Protean.
The one with the
Protean.
Protean. Yes. A 15th generation vampire with protean claws should not be able to take out the 6th generation elder.
But that's not how it works, Pete.
Huh?
Also, 15th gen is thin blood. That's when you hit thin blood status. Is it 14th gen and
Okay,
lower?
14th gen, 9th generation, it still shouldn't be possible.
I disagree. I mean, I find the blood potency thing is rather nice because it also explains why someone like, say, your main character in Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, no matter their clan, ends up taking down an elder like LaCroix. You're able to overpower him because your blood is more potent than his.
Or Beckett, or
Yeah,
there are
any one
quite
of
a
those guys.
few of those elders out there.
I mean, there's also the whole, like, Indiana Jones theory. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could wave the sword around and be the best with a sword, but somebody with a gun.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. The difference between technology and actual blood potency is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, blood potency also determines how well certain things work. Blood
So,
potency is your blood surge, your healing, your discipline extra
Dragon's breath
die.
to the
So
face
hey,
will
hey,
kill
hey, hey, hey,
anybody.
hold up. So I'm gonna throw this at you. How much potency does it take to pick up a small tree? Let's say about the size of somebody's chest.
3 or 4?
If
Okay,
not even that.
right. Okay, so let's say you got potence 3, right?
Torn signpost would work
Listen,
better at
listen to
2.
what I'm saying. Now let's say you have potence 3. You just have to be smarter than the other person that you're at. I can be a 13th generation vampire with potence 3, and I can stake an elder with a fucking tree. That's
the
just
thing.
being smart.
No, here's the thing. Smart and experienced are 2 totally different things. At that generation, they will have had
Being possible.
a minimum of 500 years experience. So if you see your opponent snatch up a tree, you can break even using vampiric speed, which isn't even about celerity. You know?
What I'm saying is that it's entirely possible because I've done it.
So have I.
Well, I mean,
And I'm
well,
willing to agree with you in theory.
let's take into consideration the character I made for Eric's game with just basic points, right? Could theoretically punch a hole out of someone. right? And it's not like that character was insanely strong. It's just it was heavily geared towards punching shit. You
I
know,
I role played out when I was still doing LARP. I role played out a Toreador prince hearing the click of a shotgun trigger to get out of the way in time using celerity. But the shotgun round still blew her spine in half. Okay? And at that point, I was able to trigger the second barrel and took her head clean off. She was a generation below me. That should not normally have been possible, except for the Dragon's Breath rounds I was shooting.
but that's kind of like a specialized thing meant to kill.
And that just
I mean,
brings you right back to
Archons
you
go
technology to
in
do it.
with weaponry capable of killing a vampire. That's what they do.
Not
right, and
even that, like the
I mean,
hunters.
So this brings up a really cool thing we can talk about. Let's talk about how exactly Clan Assamite is so successful at doing what Pete is talking about.
Oh, yeah. Let's do that.
Like
I'm happy to do that.
constantly. Like
Oh.
no hand they are constantly killing larger and bigger vampires.
Oh, yeah.
So
And part of that's quietus.
let's go with Ken. Ken, tell us about the old ways with the fun stuff we could do.
Well, there's a lot. I mean, generally, they do a lot of studying. They find out what your weaknesses are, and they spend a lot of time. Right? They find you at your weakest point and take advantage of it. If it's something to where they don't even necessarily have to work alone in a sense, they will use.
But they normally do.
They normally do, but the things that when they work with other people, the other people typically don't know they're working with the.
But
person
it's
in
also
question.
always another Banu Haqim.
No, not necessarily. They might be manipulating someone that you trust.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they could be leaving a note for you to, like, let's say I was trying to get Eric, and the only way I know I could get Eric out into public is to have you summon him. And so I'll summon something to you or put your life in danger or make you think there's a perceived threat, and in him en route, I'll get. You know?
Word, man. Yeah, I feel it.
And so that's kind of like they'll do anything and anything they can to expose you. And when they do, they know really what you are. And they
hear an Assamites in town, shit's gonna go sideways.
I mean, typically, if you hear the Assamites in town, it means that they're there to do normal shit.
No, shit's
So you're
gonna
not
go
there to know.
sideways on your ass.
Well, not even that. If you know the Assamites in town, back with like in that previous thing for the higher ups, that means that the Assamite is there to do friendly shit.
Not
typically,
necessarily, though.
Well, typically, if the Assamite was there to do dirty deeds, you didn't know he was there.
Exactly.
That's true.
Like
That's
you
true.
Bob would end up dead, and you'd be like, I don't know. It looks like the hunters fucking did it.
Yeah, right.
And they blamed a lot of that shit on the hunters because it was
Society of Leopold. Society of Leopold.
Right.
And I mean, given their new layout, I mean, celerity, obfuscate, and blood sorcery is a mean combination.
Oh God, no doubt, man. That shit's scary on a level I can't imagine.
I mean, a level 1 power with like any level 1 person with blood sorcery can do it. It's corrosive vitae. All you have to do is wait for the prince to start giving a speech, and you're just like, blood on a few key parts, walk away, thing falls, and if that vampire ain't fast enough, they're damaged, if not staked. And then all you have to do is let the fire take care of them from there.
Dude.
And that's just with level 1.
Yeah,
so it
right?
also depends.
Your ass is had, dude.
And you combine that with level 1 obfuscate of silence of death, you no longer make any noise. So that click of the shotgun is gone.
Which is why it's Latin for shut the fuck up.
Right.
So that was folded into obfuscate. So even a very beginning fledgling Banu Haqim has access to some very good powers if they have imagination and a will to use them.
So even
That's
then,
scary.
the Banu Haqim, or not the Banu Haqim, but the Asmites in the older stuff, like I played an Asmite character that was about 450 experience, right?
Oh,
Which is a fairly large boy,
yeah, it is.
right?
That's actually pretty high, dude. Now that
And
I'm
it
more
was
familiar
LARP
with
system.
tabletop,
It was LARP system too. So he was a hefty lad.
450 points in LARP.
Yeah, and I started out at like a much lower gen, and like it was just one of those things where there's there was like a ritual you could do to kind of like alleviate you like the blood curse kind of thing, and to where you could spend like half of your permanent willpower pool to like ignore it for a try.
Oh, that's
It was something. It might have been a homebrew thing, but that's beside the
that
point.
is gonna be so bad for business.
Right. But
Oh my god.
the point of it is typically a lot of what would happen is there was quietus involved, and quietus is a mean creature all on its own. The messed up part
Preach, brother, preach.
well, with quietus, the one way I killed a target is I hid inside of his vehicle and had somebody else go to hit his vehicle, but I activated quietus inside of it.
Oh, the cone of silence
Oh
first
yeah, the
shot.
cone of silence. That's what I was about to say, dude.
Right.
You beat
So
me to
when
it.
you can't hear anything and you're driving, it induces a state of panic.
Of course it does.
Like radio's blasting, and then everything just goes to like a tinnitus like pitch.
I don't hear
Right.
shit.
Like just nothing.
Oh no.
And then panic sets in, and he gets hit with a car. I had fortitude levels to soak it, and then we finished the deed essentially. We use some basically vice grips, like the grips you use to like pull someone out of the car to crush his neck.
You know, you remember the Assamite assassination in the clan books?
Mm-mm.
The
There's
one
been a
where
few.
they kill the regent of New York Chantry, where he reached down in the elevator through Quietus and garroted the shit out of her, and Victoria Ash is the only other person in the elevator, and it's like her head fell, her body fell. Vicky had no clue what had just happened until it was over. And then the first thing that the prince thought of was, oh, it's a Nosferatu. No. No, it wasn't.
No, I do know that like the Asmites were real keen on blaming it on the hunters, blaming it on other clans,
Oh, yeah.
blaming it on the werewolves, blaming it
Absolutely.
on anything that would just kill you for no reason other than because you
Oh,
exist.
yeah. Anything to
And
throw the shade on somebody else.
and like sometimes like I would personally use the hunters as like an avenue. I was a CI for the hunters essentially
Oh?
through channels. Like if I needed to get to something and I needed a hardcore distraction, I would notify hunters. Hunters are fucking
Yeah,
stupid
but
sometimes.
hunters aren't going to get anywhere near a Tremere region.
No, but when the Tremere region is dealing with it, you can get rid of a lot of the riffraff that slows you
Yeah,
down.
that's true.
Right? You don't need to get rid of everybody else. You just need to get your target. Having
But-
the hunters there, because some of them hunters are fucking scary.
Yes, they are. The ones who have true faith scare the shit out of me.
No, there was that one,
No,
Eric.
that's
Remember
that's
that?
just one aspect of the hunters.
Eric,
No, I made a big mistake in a LARP. I
you play a hunter.
made a hunter with a sniper rifle.
Yep.
An imbued sniper rifle,
Oh,
basically.
an imbued sniper rifle.
And
Oh, shit.
it was one of those things that it could kill you instantly, but it was really hard to do.
But that don't.
Otherwise, it would just hurt really bad. It was supposed to be a plot device, and a guy actually lost all the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, dude, remember I talked about it? Because I told him beforehand, I'm like, look, you're going to die unless, are you cool with that? He's like, yeah, let's do it. And I felt like such a kid.
Let's
He's
throw as
fine
much
with it.
chaos
Yeah,
as we
for him.
can. Thank you very much.
I know, man. I'm like, okay, dude, I'm sorry, but your head just exploded, and Everybody's now scared around you, and he's
Oh
like,
my
oh,
goodness.
fuck.
Oh my goodness, that's
And
funny.
he wanted to kind of throw a fit,
But
but he was
what's he
just like,
gonna
I kind of did
do?
that to myself, didn't I? It's just so we ended up laughing at it at Big Boys afterwards.
Eric, do you remember the hunting squad you gave me for like 2 nights?
Jesus. Yeah, I'm
So
not. I don't.
essentially,
Oh shit.
this hunter was, for the lack of a better term, the avatar of Saint Michael.
Oh.
Right? Dude was a beefcake with a flaming longsword and true faith, and he could summon 2
Oh,
riot
very
bands.
Gundarian. Thank
They
you.
would also summon people with true faith. So you'd get stuck in this true faith trifecta.
Right? No shit.
And he had like True Faith 2, they had True Faith 3, so it was just funneling you into his
Even
ass.
more Beric Dondarrion.
And it would burn through obtenebration. It would cause just general ag every turn because it's putting out pure sunlight. It was bullshit. And we
And it was my fault.
Yeah, who did it? Was it Dylan that we gave a heart attack to with that character?
Yeah, that is so full of suck, dude. Seriously.
Yeah, dude, Dylan was like, "This is bullshit," and I'm like,
No,
Well, dude, it was
sorry,
well, the
man.
thing was like they kept complaining, man. The whole we're Sabat, we're not fighting enough stuff. I'm like,
Well, fuck you.
in order to do that, I gotta
Let's do
send
this.
something that's gonna start. Yeah, I mean, but then
"That's like scary shit."
I had a way for it to die somehow, but then I let Ken have it.
Yeah.
Ken.
I'm a little too creative for my own good sometimes.
Sometimes.
Exactly. He figures out. I'm like, here's a bunch of dudes, and he figures out this fucked up trifecta, and I'm like, oh god, Ken.
Did I ever tell you about the time I turned a Sabat or a Camarilla game Sabat in 2 hours?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
No.
Let's get it back to
Fun.
the
Right,
Banu
sorry.
Haqim, though.
Right.
All right.
Oh,
So,
speaking of Sabat, they are in there.
You know,
There are a Banu Haqim anti-tribute.
there are a few. Yes, there are. But up until this new V5 shit, there weren't many of them.
Mm-mm. And for all we know now, there is more of them. And they also went to the Camarilla, so there is a huge schism in that clan right now. Like, probably on
Almost as
par
bad as
with
us.
the Tremere. Yeah.
Yeah, almost as bad as us.
At least one of your houses
no,
is decent.
I'm willing to admit that my clan has lost their fucking minds. I don't know.
Hey, at least one of your houses is decent.
But
You have House Karna.
No, I've read all of it, man. I'm like, what the fuck are y'all smoking? Seriously. You have just given our power to all the younger, well, not necessarily younger clans, but clans, the weaker clans. The Toreador and now the Assamites, and they're still pissed off at us for good reason. I get that.
The Toreador don't have blood sorcery.
No, that's but as I
wait,
always
some
say,
Toreador do.
Does this clan ever actually
Sorry,
do
bad joke.
anything?
Some
No,
do.
they don't.
No, some do.
Excuse you.
I'm
At least
a
one of them
Toreador.
runs the
Uh-huh.
succubus class.
Sure
I mean,
are.
succubus.
I'm talking about individuals. I'm talking about as a clan. No,
Right.
these motherfuckers don't do shit. Okay? They're like the Ventru. They're just holding on to power the only way they know how.
You know, you could be like the Banu Haqim and just move forward in the world instead of, whining like a Tremere.
If you could
Right.
see my finger right now. Just saying.
Everyone makes fun of the Tremere, even the Tremere.
Even the Tremere. No, seriously, even the Tremere, we fuck with ourselves. Bet on that shit.
But the Banu Haqim are in such an interesting place in the meta right now that you can play with them in so many different ways. You could do a Banu Haqim who's secretly like, oh no, I'm secretly a loyalist to Ulshulgi and I'm just in the Camarilla passing out knowledge and see how long you stay alive. If you're smart, you'll stay alive for a while. If you're dumb, you won't. Or you could be the Banu Haqim whose like interclan politics are find any moles and kill them.
Oh, I like it.
So there's a lot of good clan politics you can play with in the
Exactly.
Banu Haqim right now, and there always has been. Their clan politics are the fun part of this clan, I think.
And to be honest, you're absolutely right about that. It's like clan politics among the Assamites, Banu Haqim, have been sorely lacking.
I don't know if I'd call it politics.
Since Vampire 20.
Well, I mean, their politics is basically a bit tied to religion as well. So it's like two things you don't talk about at the dinner table. You have to talk about simultaneously with the Banu Haqim. Because Islam's a big thing in the Banu Haqim, especially the Banu Haqim in the Camarilla. It's their religion.
Well,
It's where they draw a lot of their embrace their child from.
A lot of their recruits prior to the clan wars were Islamic folks in general. The area which Alamut sits. It was mostly Muslims, and it mentions it in the actual clan novels that even among then, even that, it was women who were looked down upon in that particular aspect because Islamic law says women can't be trusted to do anything important, relatively speaking. So one of the reasons Fatima al-Fadil had such an issue during her training was that most of the trainers couldn't believe that a woman was capable of doing the things she did.
And now she's the de facto leader of the Camarilla sect of them.
Yeah.
So she led the Exodus, and she is awesome. I love her.
I love her. She's awesome. So about that, what do you guys have? What Eric and Ken? How do you feel about that? The whole women can't be trusted to do important shit.
Well,
because it's
they got over
law, quote unquote.
They got over it pretty quickly.
Yeah, because she's
basically
dead.
the big thing about the way vampire has become now, and that transition and the way the clan is. It's all about survival now. So a lot of that just went out the wayside. But the big thing about it was that when Urshogi did his stuff, he killed a lot of people.
Including
a lot.
Fatima's sire, by the way.
And then cast every other Assamite that wasn't following Hakim's law out. So basically, you've got
exiled, I guess.
and Hakim didn't care what your sex was.
No, it was ability and their record, which was and Fatima had better record and ability than most of the male neonates that she trained with.
Yeah.
Including a Spetsnaz, Russian Spetsnaz guy, she proved that she was better than any deadly killer on the planet.
That's because the Assamites in Banu Haqim, whatever, they you earn things based on your merit. As in, like, you earned this, you fought to get this, you did this. It doesn't, and they didn't really care much about sex.
No, they did. They really did. Hakim didn't care, but the vizier of Almut during the time of her training she was given harder training because she was a woman.
Yeah.
I mean, just because you are a vampire doesn't mean you're not going to lose some of your prejudices. But she overcame them, and that's the inspirational part of her story.
Yes.
Is she looked them square in the face and said, "Fuck you, I'm going to do it better."
I'm better than you are, and don't make me prove it, kind of shit.
Yeah, I mean, they sharpened her into an incredibly sharp tool, and then when the clan went to fuck, she led the exodus out going, we are not going to bow to Ulshulgi. We're not going to surrender ourselves to this antediluvian. We're getting the fuck out. We're going to survive because it's what we do.
Some of the Web of Knives is also women because they blended into their society.
Yeah, it said she wasn't the first woman to actually survive the training, but she was the best woman.
Yeah. A lot of
survive
what
the
they
training.
would
Also-
do is like self-policing is what they would do with Web of Knives females, from what I understood. They would police the local areas and kind of like keep everything within observation. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there can be gendered politics in any of the clans, to be honest. I mean, if you
No,
read some of the
Tremere
stuff,
have never cared. Whether you were male or female, they never cared.
if you read some of the information coming out of House Karna, that's not what Karna's point of view is. She
Yeah,
says
but
it was
Karna
patriarchal and kept women down in not very many powerful positions.
No. The last 4 pontifexes prior to this craziness that killed off the entire 7 were women. The last 4. Okay, that's 4 out of 7. That's a majority.
What about the if you want to get into what about the sexual tension, I guess, or whatever politics in Clans of Misi?
Okay, but is
Oh.
No, think
Sasha
about it
male
for a
or
second.
female? Just asking.
That's exactly what I'm saying. You don't really know, do you?
Nope.
Some of them don't even have a gender anymore. I mean, look at Vikos. They're scary as crap.
Sasha Vikos, there is no saying whether she's male or female, and she's dated both. No, Tremere refers to as female. Beckett refers to as male.
Beckett now refers to as they, actually. Beckett is just like their, they.
And Sasha refers to itself as itself, and me. Always like really weird first pronouns.
Yeah, it's a very weird combination of us, we, and me, and it's just like, Vikos, I don't even want to know what's going on with you. Just stay away from me because you are scary.
You're just fucking scary. Thank you.
Too scary. I'm out. Bye.
Who's looking at me with that finger?
Right?
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. All I
Penetration.
know is that Tremere thought she was female, and he actually taught her thaumaturgy.
No.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
You know that they had magic before the Tremere, right?
Yes, the Simiche had magic before that, but who taught her, him, here, whatever?
There's this demon underneath the Carpathian Mountains.
No, it was Tremere who taught here.
There's a big demon that lives under the Carpathian Mountains that teaches all Zmishi that want to learn blood magic.
Yes. I know
Okay, so
that.
apparently,
But I'm not talking about all Simiche. I'm talking about her, here, whatever.
So Maisa Vikos, which was Sasha Vikos' original name, originally was taken to House Tremere within the Order of Hermes, and Goratrix, being a dick, sold out Vikos to a Shemize to be turned. And so Micah had some...
was taught.
Yeah, they were taught magic under Tremere, but then was turned, and that betrayal has led to Vikos probably knowing thaumaturgy either through another mage or just through diablerie or experimentation. I mean, Vikos has been around since forever.
She's been around a
and
while.
and no, seriously, that's most likely where he learned they learned from.
What
it's called
you want to use?
All I know is I love Vikos for the fact that they actually threw their dick in the face of the Corazon at the Convention of Thorns
Yeah.
and stormed out, and the Corazon has it framed in his office.
Here, my penis. Fuck off. I'm out.
Yeah, fuck off, I'm out. So, yeah, like, since before the 13th century, Vikos has been around. Vikos became the avatar of their antediluvian. I mean, that's another thing that a lot of clans have, is an avatar of the antediluvian, which Ul Shulgi is the lore keeper of Hakim, which is why he's so insanely strong. And he knows blood sorcery enough to break the Tremere curse. That's scary.
I have a
that
question
was
for you.
no for
Shoot.
real, dude. That is scary as shit.
Which would you rather be on the receiving end of? A week of Tremere experiments or a day of Zemitza experiments?
I'll take Tremere all day long.
Do I get the right to ask for hospitality after that first 24 hours?
No. You get no right at all.
No.
I'm going to go with the 24 hours. They're both going to be terrible. But at least after 24 hours, it'll be over.
Not that terrible.
You'll just have 7 buttholes and 3 nipples. But who cares about that?
So
And
be
it's
it.
gonna be a lot of blood to fix that.
Right?
So be it. Again, the Tremere, though, like, you're gonna be hacked apart. You're gonna do things to you, and in the end of it, you're gonna be a gargoyle.
And you're gonna be a gargoyle. I was about to say that, dude. And you're gonna be a gargoyle. So.
It's better than being a book cover. I don't know.
I'd be a book cover for 24 hours than a gargoyle the rest of my life. Thank you.
Right.
Unlife. Use the proper term.
Fine, I'd rather be a book cover for 24 hours than a gargoyle the rest of my unlife. Not all gargoyles get as lucky as the one that serves Isaac Abrams in Hollywood.
Know. Even the one I had did not do as well. No,
that gargoyle's sitting pretty.
I had him illusion shifted to look like a guard. You know, an actual ghoul guard. And
here's another question. Which clan would you want to piss off the least?
The Banu Haqim.
No, why?
The reason?
Because you won't know that you pissed them off. You won't hear that you've pissed them off. The only way that you will know that you've pissed them off is after you have that knife stick out of your chest out of nowhere.
Yeah, with all the other clans, if I make them cranky one way or another, they're going to show me. The Bruja will flip a table. The Gangrel will become a Neko Meanie girl or boy.
Yeah.
The Venture are going to make snide comments at my response. The Toreador will cry. The Zemitzi will be like, "Never darken my doorway again, or I'm taking your skin. I will throw you to my war ghouls." Like, all of them give you a hint. The Banu Haqim are just like, okay, walk away, put a hit on you, and then the next thing you know, you're dead. I do not want to mess with that clan. That clan is what I don't want angry at me. All the other clans give you a warning. They will let you know. They won't.
I'm sorry, I can't do the actual.
I mean, at least the Tremere get
actual...
pissy at you first.
Oh my god, no. It's just I can't. I'm trying to catch my breath.
So, yeah.
Fair enough.
They're the ones that would scare me the most as a kindred, or even somehow a human who knows.
Which faction would scare you the most if you included all the other, like, supernaturals out there?
The fucking mummies, man.
The mummies?
Man, I shit you not.
A freshly awoken mummy is terrifying.
They are that fucking devastating. They're the one creature in all of the world of the darkness that everybody's afraid of.
Really?
Yes. The minute they wake up, they are the strongest. That they are at their peak, and they can just, like, you know what they do in the Mummy movies? They can do that and then more.
And more.
They're just like, oh, I'm going to summon forth a giant plague of killer bees first, and if that doesn't get you, the road's going to rip up and crush you, and then I'll hunt down your entire bloodline, and I'll accomplish their entire death all before lunch. What will I do with the rest of the day?
Right.
basically.
Like mummies are terrifyingly strong, but as
They're
as
super
they're up
scary.
later, they get weaker, and that's their weakness. Is the longer they're awake, the weaker they get, and so then you have a chance of killing them. But in the beginning, all you can do is cower, hide, and hope that God they don't notice you.
What he
I mean,
said.
they can take out werewolves with a snap of their fingers. There's
And
like goodbye,
vampires too.
bye, bye, bye. Mages, goodbye.
Don't
That's
give a
cute.
shit.
The
Like I
lost
said,
or
mummies are
the
the
changelings.
scariest.
They're just
Which
gonna
is why
splatter
I'm
them.
not sure they're actually going to do any more mummy books.
Yeah.
Because they're just too fucking scary.
What about like the changeling, like Green Man kind of stuff,
Yeah, so I'm
or
not as
like Baba
familiar
Yaga,
with the
or
changeling lore. I don't
yeah,
know. I
or like
honestly have no
the
clue.
Colossi or whatever from like other stuff, or Colossi, Killerosai. I don't know, the weird Guardians of the Underworld. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just curious how it stacks up to like the Boogies in the Night or like the Nexus Crawlers. You know what I mean? Like, because Nexus Crawlers just turn your bones into noodles. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
Um,
I
the
don't
way
know,
mummies
dude.
are written, they're just it's hard to really stack them all up. I just know if a mummy is at its peak, and it's been up for 24 hours or less, they're basically written to be gods.
what about
Basically.
after the 24 hours?
Then they start to deteriorate in power the
Yeah,
longer
but
they're awake, and then they have
even
to sleep.
a week into it, you're still, holy shit, these motherfuckers are nasty.
But there's a ticking clock on them at least, because the
There
older
is
they
that.
get, the more
There is
memories they
that.
gain, and they lose power. So
But they
they're in a
can
fight with
deal
their
with
own
all this
cosmic
shit
evil.
within the first week of their awakening. Anybody who's going to do something that would cause them injury, he can deal with that in the first week. No problem. No problem.
A mummy's broken. That's why people usually don't cross it
Oh,
over
yeah,
with
it's
anything.
broken bigger than shit. Yeah. And I think
But
we've
yeah,
covered that, in the old shows under Mummy. You're right about that. It's just they're that fucking scary, but they aren't scary for forever.
I mean,
But they're
given
scary.
their location, I'm sure the Banu Haqim and even the Ministry have deals of like, if a mummy wakes up, y'all go fucking
Yeah,
quiet.
go quiet.
Y'all use the obfuscate and you hide. You wait till it moves
No,
on.
we watched a submarine movie earlier today called Hunter Killer. It was like, all right, go silent. That's what you got to do. You got to go silent. Because if you don't, and even if they think you had something to do with trying to impact their deal, whatever that deal is, they're going to fucking make you disappear. And don't think they can't fucking do it. Vampires, werewolves, hunters, doesn't fucking matter. They will end you.
As far as I'm aware, they have the ability to Thanos snap people.
Yeah,
So,
pretty much.
oh look, you're sand now. Bye.
Bye.
On
Peace
a
out.
side note, just for funs and giggles, uh, the friggin' guy I was talking about earlier with the tetanus or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
some of the powers he had access to was blood clot. He could cause a victim's blood to clot, becoming unusable.
Oh, yeah.
He
That would
could
definitely dick
turn
over.
your blood into acid.
That would definitely dick over an vampire. No shit. By the way, I know I haven't mentioned this, but we're a little past the 1 hour mark. The
No.
folks in the channel, if you've got questions, sound off. Sound the fuck off. You know what we're talking about. So please tell us what you want to hear, and we'll be more than happy to try and answer your questions without sounding goofy.
Yeah.
Some of us are being a little goofy tonight.
Nope.
We've gone through the Banu Haqim, and then vampires, and then werewolves, and now we've gone to mummy. And so
But staying on topic is not our strong suit.
Yeah, no,
Right.
that's not what we're supposed to do.
I know it's
Seriously.
not. But I do have a question though, because I've never actually played a Banu Haqim before. So if you had to come up with just this sort of fun idea on the fly, you're playing a Banu Haqim. How do you build them? What is your focus, and what do you ignore?
Taxi driver.
You could do that. Are you looking to do more of like what's the point of the character? Are you looking to be like a death dealing kind of stereotype, or what are you looking to do with it? Like just a generic kind of thing?
I'm
Well,
something that you have to play a Banu Haqim. How would you design them since they are
A taxi
versatile?
driver that uses the kindred hunting grounds of the how should I put this? The kindred hunting grounds of the nightclubs and shit. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Man.
The rat.
Yeah. Yeah. Or the succubus club. I do. I would drain a motherfucker every night. No problem.
Nah. What did I call that kid? Hold on, man. Let me check my notes.
So you're gonna be basically like a rabid diablerist.
Diego Vertigo, go ahead, man. Don't give a shit whether we've covered it or not. We're happy to recover it. Whatever you'd like to hear, drop a question, man. I'm super tickled to hear what you might actually have. Since you're new to us, I appreciate you joining us live, and I'm always happy when anybody joins us live because I assume nobody's listening to my show. Okay, I'm just being a dick. Just being a dick. Sorry, but
Dude,
I'm super happy. Anytime anybody listens to our show.
Dude, make him a bro.
Yeah, I'll make it, brother, bro. No problem.
No. I was going back to what we were talking about before.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Oh, make the
Okay.
character a bro.
Yeah, like that guy who I did in the game.
Oh, like
Look like that
Pookie.
Jersey Shore freaking reject.
Yeah.
The guy he's actually doing federal time now, Mr. Situation, whatever. But
So what about,
that's a direction you could take.
so I guess if we're on this topic, what do we talk about the 3 different castes of Assamites, man?
oh, let's do that. Let's do that. Okay, so
Ken,
we've
take
got
us away.
There's what warrior,
Sorcerer caste, Vizier
Vizier,
caste,
and
and Assamite
sorcerer.
anti-tributes, essentially.
Well, I mean warrior.
Yeah, warriors.
Okay, warrior. I didn't see warrior in here. I just saw the 2. I'm in the fucking wiki. I gotta go with what they got.
I mean, a lot of the warriors did. Some of the warriors and viziers did run away together. So yeah.
Yeah, but the sorcerer caste has got to be fun.
Oh yeah, that's one that definitely will specialize in their blood
Basically,
sorcery.
Unless you're a vizier or sorcerer, you're just an Assamite. But basically, everything that, like, all the stereotypes, the ones that have been seen the most over the years, were always the warrior caste. Nobody knew that there were 2 other castes in the clan until they started revealing themselves more.
We actually have a question on that particular subject, which is a shocker. No, seriously, dude. That's a big shocker, and I love it. Diego Vertigo wants to know roughly how many of the Banu Haqim have joined the cam versus the newly embraced Banu Haqim, in your opinion. And also in V5, there is no reference to the viziers.
Well, because
Yeah, there is. The viziers are the ones that left to join the cam. They specifically say the viziers of the Banu Haqim.
Okay.
And they picked up where the clan book leaves off with them. The viziers about a quarter of the warrior cast and a lot of the sorcerers left to figure out what to do, and we're in talks to join the Camarilla, and then they ended it,
Okay. So why
and
do you think that is?
they kind of just picked up where that left off. So that whole caste system was kind of blown up when Urshulgi woke up.
Okay, I get that part. He's a
Mhm.
Methuselah. He's not all powerful, at least at this point. But he's wondering why, or she, I don't know. Sorry, dude. I'm sorry if I don't know for sure which, sex you are. Please don't take offense. I'm not trying to do that. But they want to know, why do you think it was mostly viziers and then warriors and what's the other one?
Sorcerers.
Sorcerers.
So I think one way to look at it, and the reason why it was, is because in Beckett's Jihad Diary, there's some mention during the Fatima chapter where Beckett's there during the talks,
Is he?
and
Why
he is
haven't
there
I
during
got
the
my
talks
copy
in
yet?
the book, and they talk about who's coming over. Now there were some warriors who left, but most of the warriors turned to Olshulgi, I think, due to the sense of honor and what they were planning to do really fit that caste
The
system.
reclaiming of the blood for Cain?
Yep. Exactly. He saved them from the curse that prevented them from doing that. The viziers and the
Mm-hmm.
sorcerers weren't totally made for that purpose. Hakim made them for different purpose. He made them to research the blood, the secrets of the blood, the ways it could be utilized to better the clan. And the viziers were made to help other clans stay on a path similar to theirs, to judge them and to help motivate them into being better and to knowing not to give in to their beast and that sort of thing. But the Vizier clan, the Sorcerer clan, because they were out more when the clan when isolationists got left out and really started to die when the clan fell out of favor with the other high clans. So their numbers
Oh,
dwindled.
yeah.
And I mean, when there's a schism, it's hardly ever a 50-50 schism, and I
Never.
think
Never.
those joining the Camarilla were in the minority. Now, though, that was an excellent question of, but how many then have been newly embraced? And that's where you get into the fun part of these lower generation people who are being embraced as Banu Haqim in the modern day as a Camarilla Banu Haqim. And because you have to get permission from your prince.
True that.
So they have to earn the rights of
Yeah,
childer.
true that. Because
And they are
that's what
proving their
first
usefulness to the
tradition. No,
Camarilla.
second tradition, the domain, right?
That and the fourth tradition, I think.
Of
Basically,
the
if your
of the
child
not
fucks up,
making children without the prince's consent. Yeah.
yeah, and if your child or fucks up, it's on you.
Yeah, of course. That's
I
that's
also
further down the line, but
I wonder if it's like a political thing, almost like a religious political thing. Because if you kind of like have been a part of like a religious sect for hundreds of years, and then the warrior caste is now no longer as necessary, and they kind of get put to the side, they're gonna flock around usefulness and where they feel important. And I wonder if that had something to play in it.
oh yeah, good point.
Because when there's any kind of like political fallout, like if you have like a fascist group ally with a non-fascist group, there's going to be splintering of people who don't agree with the change in ideology. And it may be one of those things where that's where this is how they've done it, this is how they've always done it, there was nothing wrong with this way, why would we change it, they must be weak.
Yeah, but weakness has, and I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not disagreeing with you in any way. Is that, but the, a lot of political and socioeconomic groups have in the past said anything that's different from what we say is weakness. And I'm like,
Sure,
that doesn't necessarily make it weak just because they disagree with you.
true,
That,
but if you think about it from a generic kind of standpoint, this dude just broke your blood curse.
True?
Why would you flee from him? He broke the thing that was preventing you from doing what you have always believed you should be doing. Now,
because
why, when that's
what
gone,
you're
why would you
asking
believe?
them to do goes against the rules that they have been taught, especially for some of these children who have been around for 500 plus years. It's like they know better. They know that this is not true. But the
Eh,
younger children have to accept it because Urshulgi said it was. Okay, this is how this works. No. No, no,
Well,
no, no, no.
well, again, you also have that Ushulgi is known as the lore keeper of Hakim. So if he comes out and goes, Hakim's plans have changed, this is what we're doing now, people who believe in that path are going to believe Ulshulgi, especially given, as Ken said, his
Fatima, being as
his
old as she
promise.
was, is Fatima, as old as she is, who is willing to walk away from this situation, shows that maybe, just maybe, what Bolshoi is teaching is complete and utter crap.
That's her
Right.
sex idea, but again, when you've been under a constantly changing curse, several of them placed upon you by this pillar clan of the Camarilla, and suddenly this magnificent figure and warrior shows up and goes, I'll break that curse for you. Watch me do it. And then succeeds.
But
Right.
she is saying, and this is not, no, no, seriously. She started back in the clan novels. She started saying, I don't trust what's coming out of the depths of Autumnwood.
Sure.
This is some shit that should not be listened to because it is detrimental to the clan.
And keep in mind, we're not arguing whether or not the validity of her statement is there. We're just
Yeah,
kind of
no, I
pointing
get
out
that. No,
that,
I get that.
it's one of those things like, do you follow someone who has been a leader, a religious leader, or someone who shows themselves as a prophet in a sense?
That's the
Right.
question. I
Right.
mean, who do you follow? The traditions of House Tremere that have kept it strong, if not rigid, or the person who says, I have a book that makes you immune to blood bonding and you can be free and be yourself and no longer answer to a pyramid. People
Oh,
could go
shit.
either way, depending on what draws them in.
Oh,
Right.
shit. Oh, shit. Hold up. Diego. Sorry, man, if I'm not getting your shit right. Uh, Diego
Dago Vertigo.
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 So, Urshogi demanded the worship of Hakim, and that rubbed a lot of the kindred, the wrong way. Maybe Fatima and the others doubt that Methuselah, recently back from torpor, would know Hakim's will. That's the fucking most important thing anybody said all night.
No, it's true, but you also have to remember, Ul Shuki also tells them they have to utterly abandon Islam and only worship Hakim. That was another huge point of the schism. Is this religion they founded as it came up in the area where Alamut is, and it's in the very fabric of the culture of the area. They converted because the people they were turning were converted, and then all of a sudden Shugi wakes up and goes, "Oh yeah, drop that religion, worship Hakim, listen to me." But again, when you're presented with, I can keep my religion or I can follow this man who promises, one, not to eat me, and two, will free me from this curse, and three, bestow upon me power, different people are going to side with different things. Well, Shulgi holds an amazing amount of power to
True that. True that.
completely shatter a curse worldwide. So Banu Haqim turned on the nearest kindred and devoured them as the curse under the layer of the no drinking blood, vampire blood curse shatters, and they're again hit by that other curse of you are addicted to drinking vampire vitae to the point where if you take even one slick of hunger of Vampire Vitae, you roll for hunger frenzy in their new system of Clanbane. If you have a drop of it, you hunger frenzy, and that's
Oh
important.
shit, that's bad, man. That's a violation of the fucking masquerade at least.
But it wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault.
Doesn't matter.
It did to the
Six
Camarilla
pillars.
clearly, that or they covered it up
No,
enough
the
that.
6 pillars of
I'm going to
what's-
explain this really quick, so that we can. I don't know. Anyway, the clan began, and the reason that they were cursed with that curse was because Hakim was judging other kindred. Okay. Now,
reclamation of the blood of Cain.
the original clan way they were doing things was that they were judging other kindred, and if they were not found worthy, they were diablerizing them.
Yes.
That was how Hakim thought that that's what Cain wanted him to do. So he kept doing it over and over again.
The
Cain got
reclamation of
pissed.
the blood of Cain.
Cain got pissed and cursed them to forever thirst for vampire blood. Then after Cain went away and all the other shit happened, the clan stuck around Alamut because they kept judging each other over and over again. So they just weren't a huge clan. And then they built up their little resources, and then all the Methuselahs and everybody else went to sleep. And nobody knew what happened after that. Then it moves to Islam and so on. So Urshulgi went to sleep with basically Hakim.
Before,
Roughly.
after, much later, I would assume.
Regardless,
Let's say
the point being is that somebody kept sitting on Urshulgi's throne for several hundred years.
Yes.
And those people that sat on that throne, instead of following Hakim,
Yeah, it's the
according
vizier
to
I
them,
was looking for earlier.
which instead of following the laws of Hakim, which are also spelled out in the Path of Blood, okay, they were worshiping Islam. It's not that they were thinking of him as a god. They weren't judging other kindred because they went against Islam. That's the schism.
All right, so
it's not inherently wrong or bad. That's just what they do.
yes.
Mm.
Dega Vertigo has another question. So how strong is the web of knives now?
I don't think anybody really would know that.
I
don't
think they're a looming
So,
threat.
that most likely the antediluvians awake. We'll have to see.
They could be going through a metamorphosis, given that's where the Gehenna War is happening, is basically around Alamut.
Well, I mean, it's also...
That's
you
what I
have to take
said earlier.
into
What was it, 2 shows back, 3 shows back? I mentioned, the elders are calling them to the Middle East. Their elders are calling them to the... I said, that's fucking Alamut, yo. What? So...
It's also where the second city was, the second and the first city.
Enoch,
And that's
yes,
what we
I
call
get that. But what I'm saying is, Alamut is the closest city, or whatever you want to call it, conglomeration of vampires, is that, it's the closest to where Enoch was. So, of course, that particular aspect of what's going on in vampire culture is going to be very important because of where it sits, if nothing else, because of where it sits.
I mean, I would also point out that the Web of Knives is 20 or fewer at, peak. You know what I mean? These are people who are, the Jason Bournes of the vampire world. They don't... They'll do stuff, but it seems like, as far as, in a giant political landscape, I'm sure they have some pressure they can apply, but it really depends on, I guess, how Urshulgi dictates it, because if they're basically reporting directly to them, then, I mean, what are their options? You know what I mean? They'll start, and I think at first you'll start seeing an internal cleansing. You'll start seeing Web of Knives going after Banu Haqim that are the most vocal, and start cleaning house, and then trying to either scare or convert people back.
Good luck with Fatima, just saying.
Well,
I'm sure she's on a hit list.
Yeah, I know she's on the hit list.
Some of
good
them
luck.
are stronger than
No,
Fatima.
good luck, man, because she's going to send a lot of these heads home in a basket.
Some of them are stronger than Fatima.
I don't know, man.
Well, I mean, as far as, you know, like,
Okay, giant undead monster who removed an entire Tremere curse by snapping his fingers, or a chick who can kill really well.
right.
Word,
And
word,
I
no,
mean-
word.
here's the other thing that we're not thinking of. How do we know giant snapping finger monster doesn't just throw a whole lot of external power into the web of knives, turning them all into essentially like super assassins?
Okay.
Yeah, we don't know what Oshogi's doing with his blood sorcery.
He may turn them into like avenues of himself, you know what I mean? Or they're like, there's just a lot. I don't know. I'm sorry for cutting you
that's
off.
a lot to take in.
That would be awesome and terrifying.
I know, right? Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, how would you want to feel about a 5th or 6th gen vampire coming after you with the blood of, you know,
Yeah,
their
whatever.
creator in them? You know, because he bestowed them with power. You know what I mean? Like, that would be some scary crap. Just
Scary
Mhm.
ain't a word, dude.
And they have a taste for you.
right.
And they, like, again, they want your blood. That is their curse now. They will devour you, blood and soul, and then move on. And not everyone can be Mithras and take over the person who diablerizes them.
Right? Or fucking salute Salat, man. That dude
I-
scares the shit out of me too,
I
by the way.
hate that worm.
Salat
mean-
the Demon Hunter. That's the one motherfucker in all of Demon the Fallen that those people are scared of.
But I mean, to me, that's what would be the scariest. Is it's because they're already known to be behind the thing, and not many people even are aware of their existence. And those that are going to be cleansed first, and it's just going to then become a "why the fuck is everybody important dying" kind of question.
Mm-hmm. So Digga has another question, a speculation one, which I like. What's the cause or causes of the beckoning? My headcanon is that only certain clans are being affected.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I feel like this is an Eric question.
I'm
The
feeling
beckoning
it,
is
Eric.
really
Go, man.
simple. Every time, well, it's spelled out in the Week of Nightmare stuff. When Ravnos woke up, it called all of its children to him
Mm-hmm.
so that it could eat them.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what's happening. The antediluvians are waking up. Some of them are very specific about which ones are awake, La Sombra. And
And Ravnos, but they killed him.
but Ravenos, when he woke up, he called all of his children to him, and that's why they're being beckoned to the Middle East.
And then the Technocracy
Because that's
lost
where
their
the
fucking
second city
minds.
is. It's where Enoch is. That's where everything began. So
No, Enoch was
Isn't-
called back from the Shadowlands.
Is La Sombra still in the like Grand Central Park of New York?
that the what?
There was an antediluvian that was like the Grand Central Park. Was that
That was the
Old
Simiche.
Zamesi. Yeah, he was in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay? I couldn't remember.
And
if it
he
was
moved.
La Sombra or him.
Nope, it was him and he moved. The Tremere recently lost track of him in the sewers because they're like,
Yeah.
we sensed power and psychic emanations, and then they suddenly fucked off, and we're like, we have no idea where it went.
Fun.
And I'm not chasing it. Basically. I'm not
And they're like, we're going to go
chasing
down there and see what we can find, but we're
No
not
thanks.
chasing it.
A lot of scared Nosferatu.
it. Yeah,
A lot of scared
Listen,
Nosferatu.
that's the reason why the princedom of New York switched hands so quickly. You know, because Calibros was the Prince of New York, but he didn't stick with it because he just didn't want the fucking job.
No one wants to be Bishop or Prince of New York.
Nobody. Seriously.
I mean, Vikos even left the job. Vikos is like, I'm out, bye.
Peace. Now,
Fuck
she said
this shit,
peace
I'm
out.
out. Peace
No,
out,
I heard
bitches.
Her. She said peace out.
I got shit to do. But I think part of it is the antediluvians. I think they are using the blood to call their childer and maybe getting help from their Methuselah lackeys that they're not eating just yet, because they need the strength. They need to do that. But then there's also this nebulous fog of war over the Gehenna War, and the only hint we really get about it is in the Camarilla book when someone writes, the Sabbat are there and they are transmogrifying. They are being sharpened and honed into something far more terrifying than they've ever been, and I fear the day that they return.
I feel it.
So there is something terrifying as well about what's going on over there that sort of brings about some version of Gehenna that we're possibly, because Gehenna is a cycle. There are a bunch of different Gehennas all sort of slowly moving towards their
we
end
finally
game.
come to that actual realization. It's like the Maya calendar. It's a fucking circle. Just because we're here doesn't mean it can't keep going.
And a lot of them have been broken. The Endless Night is now nothing more than a pipe dream at this point for the Giovanni. Their plan's been ruined thanks to the Sixth Maelstrom as well as the Second Inquisition killing a buttload of the Clan of Death, which is why all 3 clans of death have now, or 4 clans of death, have come together to hold hands, sing Kumbaya, and try to survive the end of the world.
Good luck with that.
I don't know. I feel like that'd be a group you don't want to poke.
Don't want to poke them. Why? Especially now that Cappadocians, Harbingers, Giovanni, and Samedi have all joined forces. Fuck that.
Yeah, I remember Samedi. Samedi are fucking horrifying.
They're all horrifying, and that is terrifying to me, this idea of those 4 clans coming together, holding hands, and I'm just like, all right, I'm waiting for the zombie horde at this point.
They're just mixing blood and sharing powers.
Kindred don't have a problem with zombies.
I think it's bitchy. I like it.
I like it too, because that's my favorite clans.
Well, I love it. I want that book. But again, I'm also just like, if the Camarilla were fucking smart, they tear up that treaty with the Giovanni, storm in there, and be like, you listen here, fuckers, we've had enough.
Yeah,
I don't think
y'all
be a
can get
smart
the
thing
fuck
to do.
over it and move on.
The damn treaty of non-interventionalism was a kind of a stupid idea with the Giovanni.
It was.
But, hey, decisions were made.
You act like the Camarilla had a choice.
I know, I act like the Camarilla had a choice, but now they do.
Because we seriously, dude, can take it up with the corporate. We just don't give a fuck.
But, I mean,
I love Geos so much, I'm not even gonna lie.
I'm a Harbingers fan, and the fact that they're together intrigues me, because it's like the worst family reunion ever.
Eric loves him some Harbingers skulls.
Yes, you do.
He does.
Yes, I do.
It's like that family reunion where 2 branches of the family hate each other, so they're just glaring at each other over the human smorgasbords that have been chained to the table.
It's like the family that has like one half all turned into bankers, the other ones are angry rednecks that have just lived in the backcountry for the entire time, and they're trying to find common ground.
And you're staring at each other over the human birthday cake, and it's like...
And it's like, no! Get the fuck out. No, I'm not going anywhere. You need to go.
And the fucking Samedi are just like the distant cousins that are just like, why are we here?
Yeah, no shit, right? It's like,
no, the Baron said we should come.
It's a show of force, and you just fucking be happy.
Right.
Meanwhile, the Cappadocians are just like, you're all so... uncivilized. Everyone turns to them and they're just like, shut the fuck up, you nerds.
Yeah, shut the
but
fuck up.
Honestly, if they start like intermingling blood powers, that would be scary.
Probably.
Yeah.
Like, give them time and they like.
I don't mean to diminish that in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, that would scare the shit out of me.
Right. The Cappadocians live in the graveyard. Pick up your shoes. Oh, no, they don't.
No, they don't.
You gotta fix that right now. Listen here, fuckers.
I mean, it's the clans of death are the reasons you don't walk through a graveyard at night.
Bedroom. Thank you very much.
Like,
we're
just
pull the curtain back before daybreak, and you're fucked.
Right.
Yeah. Again, the clans of death are why you don't go into a fucking graveyard at night.
No shit. Right. All right. Diego,
I do need to get going soon. So.
If you got some more questions, man, holler. We're still for another 30 minutes or so. We're holding down the fort. This is our full It's not our first show since we've been back from YouTube jail, but it's our first full one back since YouTube
Right.
jail. And we're trying very hard to keep our fans happy. And there have been a lot of folks that have messaged both my co-host and I about when the fuck we were coming back from YouTube jail. And now that we're back, we're trying to give everybody their fucking money's worth, quote unquote, zero. But not gonna go there.
But speaking of money, we have a Patreon down below.
Yeah, there's that. But I don't give a shit. I truly don't care. I'm never gonna fucking monopolize this channel ever. And we appreciate the money, and it will
Right.
help us upgrade our mics and so on once we get enough money. We appreciate that if you can do it. God knows. Smash the subscription button and the notification bell. We'd really appreciate that. And that
Dig
way
a-
we're gonna, we're gonna keep doing our best to keep you on track with what we're doing. And we do all of World of Darkness at this point. I'm even decided, and I wasn't sure, to be honest, when we started the show, whether I was willing to do New World of Darkness stuff. But yeah, we're gonna do New World shit. Fuck it. Some of that shit has actually, some of those shows have convinced me that it's worth the effort. It truly is. And I want to know about, Mummy, or what is it? What's the Cursed?
Demon the Descent, I believe.
Descent is the New World of Darkness. And Geist, the Sin Eaters. Mage, what is it? The Lost?
No, that's Changeling the Lost and Mage the
Changeling Lost.
Awakening.
Okay. So,
And
we're going to
Prometheus the
do.
Created.
Huh?
Yep.
Promethean the Created.
Okay, yeah, that one sounds fun too. Because,
That's weird. But cool.
zombies. I can do zombies. I can do golems. They're
No,
fun.
no. Yeah, it's Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
Mhm.
No, it's
basically-
Frankenstein.
Yep.
God damn it.
Vega's next question: opinions on the Discipline mergers,
Yeah,
Quietus
that's
and
what we're coming to
Oblivion.
next. Opinions on the Discipline mergers, Quietus and Oblivion. So, what do you guys think?
I don't
It
know.
makes sense. It was something that they wanted to do, I guess, in the very beginning, if I remember correctly. And every time they started making new clans, they just came up with a new power for them.
Right.
But in all honesty, a lot of the second powers in those things are just different names for powers in the original ones. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
There'd be some little tweak off of potence in Quiet. Just as it doesn't really do that, but the same kind of thing. Like Silence of Death is Quietus makes more sense as a obfuscate power than it does its own thing.
Why?
Because you're obfuscating yourself.
That's not the fucking point. Why? Why does the
Because
Quiet
obfuscation
of the
is
Grave...
the manipulation of perception.
Okay, but even so... hold on. No, hold on. Auspex is more about what you can see. If you can see somebody else's aura, if you can see that they've come into Diablerie, if you can see, it's not about what they see.
Silence of Death is in Obfuscate, not Auspex.
Yeah.
And yes, you're right. Obfuscate would be more of a what they see, not what you see thing.
Yep. So that's why Silence of Death is in Obfuscate, and it makes sense. That way you silence yourself as long as you're not attempting to make loud noises or draw attention. So your gunshot will be heard, but the click of the hammer will not.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that saved my Archon's life.
So it makes sense. And Auspex has a few things mixed in / can be combined, because they're also doing those amalgamate powers like Dementation is dominate and auspex.
Yes. Okay. Now that I agree with.
And Eyes of the Serpent is protean and presence
Really?
mixed together.
Okay. No, I feel that too.
And then they took Oblivion, and the idea with Oblivion was, because I remember the Gentleman Gamer, whose name I can't remember, Matthew Dawkins, came up with it, and he said, well, if you look at the Giovanni and you look at the La Sombra, their discipline spread is dominate potence, and necromancy dominate potence and obtenebration. There's not a lot of spacing there. It's one difference. And so they decided, what if both powers came from the same place?
Ah.
The void is connected to Stygia technically, so they're drawing on the same energies. So that's when you get aspects of necromancy are folded in with aspects of obtenebration, and you have the new power spread. My favorite being they took Touch of Oblivion from the Harbingers of Skulls when they could use Wither. So you touch a part of the body and you deal aggro damage and it withers into uselessness. And my favorite idea with it is you get mad at a vampire, so you stick your fingers in their mouth and suddenly all their teeth wither and now they can't feed.
No fangs. Yeah. Okay.
Or talk or
But
anything.
that would be no, seriously, dude. That would be more protean. The ability to, get rid of their fangs.
Protean is manipulating yourself, though, not others.
Mm-hmm.
Again, what I'm saying is a lot of this other stuff you're talking about is more of, I can affect myself than affect my opponent. My opponent, on the other hand, with this, saying, okay, there go your fucking fangs, is more protean and dominate than it would be what you're suggesting.
I disagree, since Wither and the idea of turning bodies to ash and manipulating the flesh in that way, of robbing it of what its vitality, has always been things you found in necromancy in the different paths. And then they combined necromancy with obtenebration.
No, seriously, dude, that's a physical manifestation.
Right, because you're withering the body, you're sapping forth from it its
wait a minute.
liveliness.
Okay, Oblivion is the direct manipulation of the force of death. It can take many forms. Yet the La Sombra see it through darkness, so they tap into the pure darkness within the abyss, within the labyrinth, within whatever else you want to call it. Whereas the Death Clan takes the death energy as opposed to the darkness and manipulates that death energy to wither and age somebody or cause them to die or to raise a spirit, stuff like that.
Still not working for me. I'm telling you, it's not working. What I'm saying is the ability to manipulate physical bodies
has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Removing somebody's fangs is not physical.
Yeah,
the
but it's not
vampire
your
using
manipulation of a kindred body.
The vampire using Touch of Oblivion channels the power through their vitae. They make physical contact with the victim and annihilating elements running through the vampire into their prey like an electric current, except the effect is to physically wither the target area. Effective on any part of the body, the touch shrinks and shortens muscles, snaps tendons, and makes bones brittle, effectively aging the affected part catastrophically.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you now. You're good. No, seriously, dude, I get that. And it was bothering me because under thaumaturgy, thaumaturgy 5 gives you the ability to do what's called Cauldron of Blood, which is, and below that, it's called Theft of Vitae, which is to be able to suck blood out of a vampire from, a distance, gun range distance, essentially. But now we're looking at it in a different aspect of, I get you. Okay, that works. All right. Thank you.
I mean, level 5 Thaumaturgy Ball's Caress is taken right from Quietus as well. So a lot of the Quietus powers are just blood sorcery, because the idea was technically the Banu Haqim were practicing a form of blood magics before the Tremere even existed.
Blood toxicity.
Yep.
That may not be the correct one, but yeah.
Yeah, vitae manipulation into something deadly and venomous.
See, I have a theory about this new combination discipline, like putting everything together, like story wise. Like when Ursula, you woke up and snapped did the whole thing with the curse of the clan. It became kind of apparent that older vampires can do crazy stuff. And when the antediluvians started waking up, my theory about all this is the blood thinning caused all this stuff to kind of, everybody started sharing everything all of a sudden. Until it just kind of amalgamated into what it is right now for survival purposes.
I mean, there is a reason why the Thin Bloods, technically, if they have blood of any clan, can use that clan's disciplines for a short time if they can get the blood.
The discipline, it doesn't automatically come to them if they get that particular blood, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Not with Thin Blood Alchemy. You don't have to be taught it. You just have to research it. You steal another vampire's blood and you research its faculties, and you can create serums that allow you to drink, and suddenly I can use protein for a scene. I can use dominate for a scene.
But okay. And that's LARP word or tabletop?
That's tabletop. It's in the blood alchemy section.
Alright. I'll have to look that up, but thank you for letting me know. As far as I knew, but prior to now, was that unless a clan member of the clan that you stole the vitae from taught you, say, potence, it was you couldn't use it until
not anymore.
No, it's a blood research thing, and that's kind of the whole point. Is you can basically simulate up to a certain level of the thing. Now you can't. I think the highest you can go is rank 4, and that's like a master of it.
Well, the other thing is that learning disciplines that when you're not a Thin Blood requires what Peter just said.
Yeah.
It still does. You still have to have a taste of that clan's blood in order to summon forth, But with Thin Blood, they can just do it with anybody. That's the difference.
But the Thin Bloods create counterfeit disciplines.
And it's only like one-shot use things for like a scene. It's not like they have it forever.
Kind of like Kaiti. They can use their little 1 point of whatever and make it up on the spot. But it doesn't save your ass most of the time, just to be honest.
No, I mean, but that's the Thin Bloods fight, is you get enough of them with that power, they can put up a scrap. Because they can
earlier, about 10 or 15 people, Kindred can actually take down an elder if they do it right.
Or wake one up.
Yeah, or wake one up. But yeah, I just like, okay, how do you do that? Oh, well, that's what the storyteller told me. I'm like, not working. It's not working for me.
Well, the other thing is it takes time to distill, to do, let's say, at level 4, to mimic a level 3 discipline. The entire concoction takes 3 nights to distill and at least 3 months of in-game research to actually make.
Eric, what's the thing that we were doing a few nights back as far as the, game? Was that he was able to do that because he was Kaitif. Was pretty much able to make shit up on the fly.
No, he wasn't Katif. He's a Thin Blood.
Oh, he's Thin Blood. Well, I thought that was the same fucking thing.
No, Katif are still their own thing. Yeah, they're a clan, whereas Thin Bloods are not.
Yeah, Thin Blood, you can still actually have a clan failing.
And you can Go out in the sunlight, and eat food.
Yeah.
And not a whole lot of sunlight, but
You can go into the specialized thing where you can function like a normal person.
Yeah, if you have a day drinker and lifelike as two of your thin blood merits, your heart beats, you can eat, you can have sex, and you can walk out in the daytime without taking any damage. But that's two of your merits right there.
Yeah.
And in order to know thin blood alchemy, you have to take a merit for it. You don't just get it like the clans just get their
Thin Blood
disciplines.
Alchemy. That was the one. That's it right there, dude. That's the one. Who is dude that said they were doing that?
Mine.
I was doing that as well.
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
Thin Bloods are awesome.
I got no problem, man. I'm just like, okay, I'm gotta learn more about this, or else I'm gonna be behind the curve, you know. Especially since Eric's right, trying to read all this bullshit on PDF is just that bullshit.
I have learned so much more since my books arrived.
Yeah, I know, right? So much
But
bullshit.
I think the consensus here is, besides Ken's, I don't know. Most people seem to like the folding into the disciplines, and I know I do. I think it provides a lot more ways forward with the disciplines, and they've added so much versatility. You can have two Toreador or two Bruja or two Gangrel or two Tremere who have completely different power sets.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
And that's what I like. And it got rid of the 1,000,001 schools of necromancy and the 1,000,002 schools of thaumaturgy.
No,
Thank
seriously,
you.
dude, I'm
I
having big
also-
fun with my fucking DOS.
I also think it cuts down on the concept of wanting to diablerize, because beforehand everyone was basically typing.
everybody wanted to diabolize somebody.
Yeah, and
Didn't
now
give
you
a shit
can
who.
be cool without having to burn somebody else's bridge to do it.
Exactly what he said. Oh, 'cause
Or
you
walk
piss
around with a
people
bunch of
off.
veins
No,
in
seriously,
your
dude.
aura.
You piss people off when you start fucking diablerizing their characters. They get angry.
Shocker.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Shocker. Yeah, no shit.
Except the Banu Haqim, that's their curse. They
That's
want to
the
diablerize
thing,
you.
man.
Sucks to be them.
Yes, it does. And to be honest, you know, the reclaiming of the blood of Cain, I get. I do. I get it. And I expect to be diablerized at that point. But
I
I'm
expect
definitely
to be
going to
cracked
go out of
open
my
like a
way to
Capri
try and
Sun.
make sure it doesn't fucking happen.
Again, don't make them angry. Don't get on their bad side. Do your best to make friends with them, or make sure your soul is super strong so you can take their bodies when they try.
Exactly.
Right.
So, guys, in the chat, we've got about 7 minutes left in the show, and I would really appreciate it if you have any more questions. Please throw them now, and then we will see you guys 2 weeks from tonight. The show will be about. Hold on, shit.
I just realized a fun character concept would be you're a fledgling who gets diablerized by a Banu Haqim or something, but somehow you win, so you wake up in a body that isn't yours, and you're like, oh my god.
So 2 weeks from tonight, we will be doing the Kiesin book for Changeling, and Thomas will be back for that one, and Ian Hogan will also be here with us. And that's going to be fun because I love the Changeling shows. I do. I don't get enough Changeling, even though I've never played it, but I love talking about it. So,
As much as I'd like to stick around, I do got to scoot. I've got a raid to run. So.
all right, all right, man. Have a good night, Ken.
Nice talking to you guys.
Love talking with you, man.
All right, take care, guys.
And bye.
Night.
And there goes one. And we're okay with that. So, so anybody else? Yeah, Diego says good night. He didn't hear it. He's gone. So, I hope to have Diego back for next week or 2 weeks from now for the Changeling show. I'm not sure what his game of choice is. I'm gonna feel doing the whole, vampire thing tonight. He's probably a vampire player. Just saying. Um,
He,
oh, Scott was here.
he had
Freaking Scott didn't even
some
say
weird
hello. I feel
hummus.
I feel
Hmm?
bad.
What?
I do.
Yeah, it is.
Is that Molly?
Oh shit. Yeah. I forgot I had my mic on. Sorry.
No, that's okay. No, it's okay. Hi, Molly. Uh, we're on our last, 5 minutes of the show, so everything's open for discussion at this point. I finally did get to see fucking Endgame, by the way. I'm not
No
gonna.
spoilers.
No spoilers. No fucking spoilers. Even though people think, oh, it's been out a week, so I can do spoilers. And I'm like, oh, no. No, I jumped somebody's shit earlier this week about doing a spoiler. Even though after I saw Endgame and I saw the spoiler he was talking about, I still got mad. And it was not one of those spoilers like, holy shit,
Hmm.
who dies, whatever. No, it was about somebody in particular and their body, and I'm like, nobody gives a shit, dude. And then I saw it, and I'm like, dude, you posted a spoiler. You're on snooze for 60 days or 30 days. Fuck you. Basically, that's how it worked out. And this is motherfucker I've known for 20 years, and I snoozed his ass for 30 days over this. Because when I called him out for the spoiler, he thought it was funny. Ain't nothing funny about a spoiler. None. Would you be happy if somebody on your friends list posted a spoiler that you found out later on wasn't a big spoiler, but was a spoiler nonetheless?
Me personally, I really don't care. That's just me. I'll watch a
Really?
movie, even if somebody tells me the end of it. I'll still
No,
watch
that
the
will
movie
never.
and see if I
No,
like
that
it.
will never happen as far as I'm concerned. And
Eh,
go ahead, Thomas.
I feel like overall a story, if it's well written and well acted, will make you feel the same way. Will give you an experience whether or not you're spoiled. However, I
However,
understand people who want to go in, again, it's a personal thing of people who want to go in and just go in absolutely blind. And I try to be courteous to those people because they're asking me to be courteous to them.
exactly.
But I also don't mind spoilers. I'm one of those people who's like, spoil me unless I randomly care. And it's very few and far between that I care.
Oh shit! Scott said somebody spoiled the Sixth Sense for him.
See, that's a mean that I understand could also be a mean one. I think the effect still works, but there was something about that era when people got that plot twist
Did
and
you
seeing it for the first time.
did you see the news report of the guy who got beaten up outside a Hong Kong movie theater for
Hmm.
spoiling the end game for all the people who were still in line? And I said, they're lucky they didn't beat that motherfucker into a coma. I shit you not, because he ran out and started spewing everybody who dies, everybody. Yeah, exactly. And he
Hmm.
got what he deserved.
I don't think he should have been beaten for it, but I do think that's a major douchebag move.
Oh, it's a
Like,
complete douche move, and then some.
I agree. I mean, that's like the people who spoiled The Empire Strikes Back and its ending spoiler.
Exactly, exactly. And I remember that as this was prior to the interwebs. You know.
All right. I guess we should say goodbye to our lovely viewers.
Absolutely, we're at 1:59:44, so we're good. We're here for the night. We're gone for the night. Love y'all for joining us in the chat. Love y'all for joining us in the channel for the actual voice com. And so, Thomas, say goodnight.
Good night.
Eric? Eric? Eric?
The Banu Haqim
Good
got in.
night.
Good night.
Nah.
And this is Peter. I'll talk to you guys in 2 weeks. Good night.